Hey everyone, Yasin here, and today I'm doing a speed painting, and I wanted to talk about a topic that a friend of mine, whose name may or may not be Gu Lao de Pigu, and he was struggling with this, and it was understanding what he should be drawing. And when I asked him, he said he wanted to do comics, and it's like, okay, and then when you look at, and this happens a lot, but you look at what people say they want to do and then what they're doing, and it's completely different. And I think a lot of times people have this thought that, well, I'm not ready to do that yet. I'm not good enough to do that yet. Like, I want to do comics, that's my ultimate goal, but that's for when I'm good, and for now, I'm going to focus on the fundamentals and whatever that means. Well, I have a video on what that means, but instead of doing the thing they want to do and learning the fundamentals through that thing, they do other things that are unrelated. And this is something I see especially in people's portfolios where I guess it's like a hot buzzword right now, but it's concept artists, and it's a thing that comes up the most where I ask people, well, what do you want to do? And they say concept art. And then you look at the portfolio and it's like character design, maybe illustration, maybe fine artsy stuff, and it has nothing to do with concept art. Like, there are no concepts, because concepts are concepts. Like, you have multiple renditions of a character. Like, well, it could look like this or like this or like this or like this. Usually it has like A, B, C, D, E versions or numbered versions. A concept art portfolio often has maybe environments, vehicles, characters, architecture, things like that. And it's not fine artsy. It's not got like, well, the story behind this is. It's like, no, there's no there's no real story. It's just, this is a thing. This is what it looks like. This is what it looks like from this view, or this is what it looks like in winter, and this is the summer version. It's stuff like that. And so, I mean, of course, some people legitimately want to be concept artists, but a lot of people who say they want to do concept art, it's more because they've heard concept artists actually make money doing art. And so it seems like, well, I guess I want to do art. That's the real feeling, is I want to do art, but I want to do it as a living. Okay, then what do I do? Well, I hear this person does art for a living. Oh, what do they do? Oh, they're a concept artist. Okay, well, then that's what I want to do. And I feel like it's not the best idea. Because I actually went through this where I wanted to do something. At first, I just wanted to create art that expressed certain emotions, and I was more on route to a fine arts thing. And so I learned about traditional painting and drawing, and went to some galleries. And the way the galleries worked was that, where I am anyway, they charge depending on medium. So like an oil painting is worth the most, and an acrylic painting is worth less, a watercolor is worth less, and a drawing is worth even less. And they also charged based on the size of the canvas. If it's bigger, it costs more. And then what would happen is they would get clients come in and say things like, oh, we're going with a yellow theme in the kitchen, so we need a yellow painting. And then the gallery owners will ask the artist, like, hey, we need a yellow painting, and, make it this big or whatever. And it just seemed like, wait, how is this art? So I don't know, I guess I got a little bit jaded about the fine arts world. It seemed like there was a lot of selling going on, a lot of trying to make up reasons for why something is interesting instead of the art having its own inherent value just cuz. And it also felt like the skill level, at least at that time, I'm sure, and where I am, it wasn't that high. And then when I would look at illustrators and concept artists, but I would see their level seemed much higher. So then it was this thing of, oh, I want to learn what they know, and I also want to refine my skills. So that began my journey for finding out how to do the fine art paintings I wanted to do. And so I went into portraiture to try and learn skill. And then I saw caricatures had better likenesses. So it's like, oh, well, then I want to learn caricature because I want to be able to create better likenesses. And I felt restricted because it's like, if you gave me a photo, I could copy that photo and make a painting that looked like the photo. And then as long as I got all the angles right and the measurements and everything, then it's like, yeah, okay, done. It looks like the photo. But the only satisfaction in that was that, if it looked like the photo. It wasn't like, this is what I want to do. I have some goal in mind. I have some expression that I need to get out on the canvas. And it just so happens to be this dude's face who, I don't even know this guy, or nothing. It was just, eh. And then with caricature, it was like, oh, now I have this other skill under my belt. Because now I can take faces and I don't have to be limited to the reference anymore. But then I felt like, oh, but my stuff is stiff. It's still not as cool as these people who were animators, and they had the ability to caricature and also the ability to not have to rely on a reference. But their stuff was really flowy and it was alive and it had action. So then I learned animation. And then animation in the school I went to anyway, it was only a 1-year program. But it was preparing you to enter 2D cutout animation. And that's done either in Flash or Toon Boom. And basically you're like moving pieces of construction paper and sticking it's like that type of thing. It's sort of what South Park looks like as a show. You don't actually draw. And I'm like, oh, well, what? I kind of wanted to draw, but there's not a whole lot of drawing here. So it's like, yeah, I don't really want to do animation. Okay, but I got my gesture and things. And then I get out and it's like, well, okay, now what do I do? And then a bunch of my friends were doing card art. So it's like, that makes sense. And I joined this online community called Crimson Daggers, and they were all doing the similar type of thing and working really hard to do illustration type work. So yeah, I practiced that, and it got to the point that it's like, okay, I can take some jobs now doing illustration, and that started to get me some money. But it got depressing for me because it wasn't what I wanted to do, and it's because I did not grow up with this. And when people sometimes ask me, like, well, I don't know what to draw, what I like to think, or what I tell them is like, what did you like to draw when you were young? Because usually when we're kids, we don't have these ideas of like, what should I draw? You just draw. You'll look at something and it's like, oh, that's cool. Maybe you get inspired or you just draw. And so what I think is like, you should draw what you want to see. And with the card art stuff, it wasn't really what I wanted to see, because it's like I wasn't one of those kids that played Magic the Gathering and so was really into this card art. I was into JRPGs and anime. So that's, and earlier on than that, comics. So then I started I got a comic book gig, and it was for an animation studio. So it's like cartoony comics, and I didn't think I would enjoy it because it was Western comic-y styles, and I don't really like those. I'm more of a Asian manga style stuff. But I found it a lot more interesting than doing card art. And that's not to put down card art at all, or to put down portraiture, or to put down caricature, or to put down animation. It's just to say that you shouldn't chase things just because someone else, or you think that's what you're supposed to do. Like, oh, but I need to make money, therefore. Because the thing is, even if you get to the point that you're making money, it doesn't mean you'll be happy. You might think, oh, but I just love art. It's like, yeah, well, you might not if you have to do it day in and day out, and it's something you don't really enjoy. So I think it's really important to just do what you want to do. And had I known that, I probably would be better in a way. I mean, I probably wouldn't be a better teacher, because I think I became pretty good at teaching just because I learned a bunch of different disciplines. And so when someone's like, well, how do I do this? It's like, oh, I actually know how to do that because I studied that. But anyway, my point is, so you want to do comics, then do comics. Oh no, but it's not going to look good. Exactly. This is the point. It doesn't look good. And it's like, by doing the thing you want to do, you will actually run into the problems you need to run into. So for instance, you're doing comics and you're trying to draw a background and it looks off, and it's like, why does it look off? Because the perspective's wrong. So then you learn perspective, but instead of doing it in an outside, like, oh, I'm just doing this perspective and doing a bunch of studies, you take the perspective and you directly apply it to what you're doing. And then it's like, oh, well, this character's arm looks wrong. Okay, study the anatomy to fix that one arm. And it's like, oh, yeah, I kind of learned how to do that now. Another thing you can do is something that my friend Cintiq taught me, which is just keep erasing and fixing things like anatomy until it looks right. And even though it's like, but I don't know what it's supposed to look like, so how do I know what to fix? It's like, well, just do trial and error. And the magic of this method is that by fixing it and erasing it and fixing it and erasing it until it does look right, you're kind of training your brain to see all the things that don't work. So in the future, it stores that. And then the next time you run into a similar problem, even if it's not the same problem, you sort of can fix this, then you sort of can solve it. And it's much better than just watching videos on, how to draw this or how to draw that, because that's not giving you the experience and the frustration. Like, frustration can be really good because what it does is it makes it painful, so you actually learn the lessons really well. And you also learn what doesn't work. And sometimes it's like, well, okay, I'm going to fix it, and I'm going to try this, I'm going to try this, I'm going to try this. And you'll make an attempt at something that's just like, well, this is going to look stupid. Oh, well, try it. But then it actually looks better. And this is how I sort of developed my style more. It's just those happy accidents, trying things that seem like probably won't work. And then it's like, usually it doesn't. But sometimes it's, hey, that actually does work. Yeah, so that's my thing on, do what you want to do and get better as you're doing the thing you want to do. And there's been countless jobs I've had where I was not ready for it, but because you're getting paid, you just rise to the occasion. And I think we're capable of doing things far beyond what we think we can do. And we just sort of have to believe in ourselves and also the process, and understand that as long as I do this thing, I'm gonna get better at it. And yes, you still gotta fix your mistakes and learn. I'm not saying don't learn. I'm saying learn, but apply it practically. And yeah, so I didn't really talk about what I'm painting. It's just a girl with red hair and armor, and I got lazy and I don't really care. I lost interest after I had the face, so I didn't detail it. But hopefully it's still somewhat okay. You kind of like it or something. And yeah, thanks for watching.